What's up, healthpreneurs? Yuri here, and welcome to another session of Between the Ears. I'm with Jackie, Amy, and Steph. Good morning to you all. If you're watching this in the group, good morning. If you're listening to this on the podcast, well, good for you. That's awesome. So today we're talking about the importance of mastering the fundamentals like a pro so you can eventually break them like an artist. I believe Picasso once said that, so I can't take the credit for that quote. But it's an important concept, and I want to spend a few minutes today talking about this because the reason we have these episodes is we see stuff happen with our clients and we're like, you know what, we should talk about this, whether it's mindset stuff specifically in this session or in these sessions, and this one kind of applies to that as well. So recently I had a couple people submit their feedback in the group, like, hey, can I get some help with my funnel or with my, I'm spending this much money on ads. I'm not seeing the return I want to see. I'm like, okay, cool. Send me all your stuff. Like, just let me have a look at what's going on. And right away, it's like, it's glaring. It's like, boom, like alarm bells right away. It's like, whoa. Number one, the landing page doesn't look at all like the way it should. I mean, there's some template-wise, layout-wise, it's okay. But there's some really basic concepts that are missing from that landing page. And if you don't understand that, and if you don't have it on there, naturally people landing on your page are not going to register for your webinar. So I want to talk about this, guys, because this is so important. I think it's important that we're not breeding, that's a terrible word. We're developing and harnessing leaders, but I think it's really important to learn how to follow first. Because if you can't follow, I don't think you can lead properly either. So I just want to get your thoughts on this, guys. I'll let whoever wants to jump in first.
I'll jump in because I've been in a lot of coaching programs, high-end programs, and I will admit that I did it my way, and it didn't work, right? Because I hired a coach so they could give me the step-by-step blueprint and support me, which is exactly what we do for you. And that's exactly what we talk about in our Results Accelerator calls. You call us and you're looking for, show me the path, show me the steps. And then we get in, and that thinky brain, because it's unfamiliar and we don't know what it's going to look like and we don't really know how to do it yet, and our brain is trying to make sense of it, we think we're going to do what we know, right? So we go back to all those things that weren't working, and we go back to doing the things because they're familiar. So what we're asking you to do is step out, right? When you joined the HBA, or if you are a future client, when you step off that precipice, the Health Business Accelerator Workshop is the parachute that's going to open. So we're asking you to trust yourself and trust us, because Yuri, you are amazing at simplifying and providing step-by-step instructions. And when we see clients that follow the blueprint exactly, they're successful. The people who deploy quickly and who have results with their ads are following every single step. So do that first. Once you've got that down, then you can let your creativity shine. We want you to be you. Don't get us wrong. We want you to have your authentic voice. We talk about that a lot, but there is a framework to put your voice in so you can reach your tribe. So you've joined this program. Don't make the mistakes that I've made in the past. Before I joined you, Yuri, I came to Yuri as a client, and before that I had joined coaching programs, but same thing. I kind of did it my way, right? And it all crashed and burned. When I joined the HBA, I was like, I'm not doing that anymore. I deployed, everything rolled, right? I totally followed the step-by-step blueprint, got my ads running, and boom, right? Everything was rocking. So if it's not rocking and you're following step-by-step, fall back onto us. We're the safety net. We're going to help you. But when we see you saying, I need help with this, and it's nothing like the blueprint, we're like, ah. So just go back to the portal. That's what I see. A lot of people are not taking the time to be resourceful. And we talked about that in another episode. So be resourceful. Don't just go in the Facebook group. Go in the online portal, because that's your flight plan. That's your blueprint. Use that, and then jump in that group, and we'll absolutely support you, but follow the blueprint so we don't have to tell you to go back and follow the blueprint.
And honestly, the parachute can't open if you're pulling the wrong string or the wrong cord. So
exactly.
If you're expecting certain results, you have to just look in the mirror, like, am I following this? As you said, Amy, like every single little detail, the how-to is laid out inside the online portal. You don't know how to set up your audiences in Facebook? Watch the video. It's going to show you how. If you're targeting entrepreneurs, I'm not going to mention the name here. If you're targeting entrepreneurs, but your audience is Weight Watchers, there's a massive disconnect there. Okay? You have to understand where these leaks are, because if you can't identify this stuff, you're going to be in trouble, right? So the reason we put this training together the way it is so that you are empowered to understand what's going on beneath the surface. So you can see where things, again, down the road, 5 years down the road, 10 years down the road, are not working in your business, and you can make decisions yourself. But if you're trying to get stuff done so quickly that it's almost like setting up a computer without looking at the owner's manual. And I don't think any of us would read the owner's manual anymore because it's just so simple. But it's tough to deploy something if you're not following the instructions, at least initially. And if you're not already a master at doing this stuff, you have to follow this step by step.
And one last thing is that, I don't know, I'm terrible with exact quotes, but Albert Einstein said that he wasn't the smartest. He just stayed with the problem long enough. So if it's not working or you don't get it or your brain hurts, celebrate, because we're in this world where we expect everything to be immediate and easy. And you guys have taken on the challenge of living and being, expanding and being more than most people, right? You're not just on your phones and instant gratification. That's why you joined. So let your brain hurt, sit with the problem, get up and go outside, but stay with it long enough so that you are successful, because you've got everything you need for it.
Yeah. Awesome.
Yeah. So if I could chime in here too, like this framework is the fundamentals of your foundation. Yes. So why would you try to build a house just by winging it, is my whole concept. This is what I tell people all the time. If they're like, well, what about this? Or I just saw that. And, but this is kind of a cool, different idea. I bet I can make it work. And it's like, okay, let's play with that once we have a solid foundation, because now you'll have also the resources to play with that, right? Why bleed yourself thin on spending money, time, and energy and other people's, wisdom and knowledge when you don't even have the fundamentals down, right? So it's kind of like saying, hey, I'm going to put this bike together, but I'm going to put the wheels on top and see how fast I can go. It doesn't make any sense. It just doesn't. Exactly. It might look a little different. It might be a cool concept, but until we have the fundamentals, like I just drive it right back to that, because it really is a foundation, and we're building a legacy. We're building an empire. And if you are not building it and setting up right from the beginning, and you have the step-by-step process, it's not like we're giving you a little bit and you have to figure out the rest. No, we're giving you it all. Like every piece of the pie, just put the pieces together and then launch, right? And I always say, before you even think about your website, well, what about this? I had one person even say, well, now that I'm taking all these phone calls, people are going to research me and they're going back to my website. I got to get my website looking good again. No, we don't bring that word up in our community.
Nobody cares about your website.
Nobody cares. So, and I'm like, the website is fine the way it is. That's another whole strategy, right? That you want to follow a specific framework as well, but it's not your PCP. It's not your perfect client pipeline. Just focus on that.
Yeah. It's kind of like, so you mentioned building a house, right? What we're doing is we're building a house on a cliff off Malibu. Okay, that's what we're doing with this business model, because it's not like we're building a website and then hoping people eventually come. So there's less risk if you have that type of like, all right, I'm just going to set this up, and if no one comes, no big deal. What we're doing is we're setting up a pipeline that is then driving paid traffic to it, which means you're spending money to attract leads and clients. And if you don't have this set up properly, you're going to waste money. And that's the last thing you want to do. So you don't want to spend $1,000 and then like, oh, nothing's working. No shit, right? Because you didn't have the fundamentals down first. So and we're not saying delay and get everything perfect and become a perfectionist, because that's not what this is. Because we've had a few clients who have deployed so quickly, and then when we look at their stuff, it's like you have to do all this over again because the landing page is not on. It's not right. Like I don't know what the bullets are saying. Like I don't know what the headline's saying. The ads are completely different from what we'd recommend. So you guys, it's so important to do this because it's your business. We don't want you wasting money. Yes, we want you spending a lot of money with Facebook because you should see an ROI. But if you're doing stuff, along your own path and not really following our guidance, you're going to be wasting money. We don't want that to happen. So great analogy. I just thought I'd put that into like the Malibu cliff, because if you don't build this properly, it's going to fall off the cliff very quickly.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And it's kind of like learning, let's say, salsa lessons or anything else. You're going to learn the basic steps first, And then once you have those down, then you can add your own flair, right? So don't add the flair before you even know, or else it's not salsa lesson. It's not salsa dancing anymore. It's like
It's
some
just
other
salsa
dance.
for nachos.
Exactly. Yeah. And then, you know what else I was just thinking? I was like sitting here thinking, Yuri probably doesn't even remember this, but probably like 5 or 6 years ago, I was like, Yuri, will you talk to me about this idea that I have about a weight loss thing, right? Jackie actually worked with me on this. And you asked me, you know, what's different about it? Why do you want to do this? Is this something you're really passionate about? And the truth was that the reason why I wanted to do it was because I knew there was a lot of overweight people in the world, and that was a big market. So this is kind of circling back to like niching down or niching down. I've had a lot of clients come in from HBA that they don't quite understand that part. And the fact is that that's part of the PCP. That's why it works, right? So it's like people are wanting to create all of these other things, like doing a million webinars about 10 different things and all kinds of stuff. But it's like you have to get down. And again, it's just following that system because it's proven. It's just a proven strategy. Right.
It's important. Let's talk about that quickly, because that is part of the like getting the fundamentals down. So for everyone listening or watching who are not aware of this, we highly recommend a group-based program. Right now, we're not saying you cannot do this with one-on-one, because you absolutely can run this exact same model with one-on-one coaching. The challenge, though, is because we have so many amazing experts in our group, naturopaths, functional medicine doctors, health coaches, who are like, well, I can help people do this, and I can help them with this, and I can help them with that. What that's doing for your business is this going to create a massive amount of complexity, and you might not realize that now, and that's why we're here. That's why we're here to give you that wisdom, because we're like, hey, we've already done this, just to give you kind of like, I just walked the path, and I'm going to tell you what I just saw. And here's the reality is, let's say you wanted to help people lose weight, prevent cancer, get over birth control, solve menopause, like let's say 5 different issues, okay? You've created yourself 5 different programs right now because you've got 5 different protocols. So let's say that you had 5 different protocols. You cannot speak to those people in the same way, which now means you need 5 different webinars. And in order for those webinars to convert, you now need 5 different sets of Facebook messages, each within those a number of different variations for each angle of like menopause, weight loss, because now you're speaking completely different to the perfect client you want to attract. So the level of complexity you've just added to your business is exponential. Now, when you bring those people in, if they enroll, now you've got to run 5 different programs at the same time, which is essentially a one-on-one coaching model. Or if you have 5 people in each group, it just becomes a nightmare. So guys, we're saying you have to focus on one single target market at a time. It's not to say that you're going to like be boxed into this forever, but even if you were, who would be the best clients for you to work with? Who do you enjoy working with the most? Who can you create the best results for? Right? And just ask yourself those questions. And it's like, well, I could help people with menopause and this. Well, choose one. Choose one. There's no shortage of anyone with anything. Just choose the one thing where you can create the biggest impact, where there's the most pain, that you can solve that, and you will have a thriving business. But if you start trying to think about all sorts of different stuff, you're gonna overwhelm yourself.
Well, and I've also run into people who picked a niche that they thought was just, there was a lot of people, right? There was just a lot of people out there that they could target. And then once they get on the back end and they start the actual sales calls or, you know, doing the actual program, they're like, I hate doing this. I hate working with these people. I don't like it. And so that is why it's so important to just follow the system, because we are guiding you to actually pick your perfect client, not like an okay client, like there's a lot of them. No, like the perfect one you want to work with, right? So that's, again, just yet another way of reiterating. It's just so important to follow the system. So on the back end, you're not miserable. Like, yay, my ads work. Yay, I closed a lot of stuff, but now I'm miserable because I have to work with these people every day.
But it's also true, because it's okay to experience that. We, like Dan, one of our best clients, he started off with females weight loss. And then he ran that program once or twice, and he's like, honestly, I don't want to work with them anymore. I want to be the body transformation coach for male entrepreneurs. And that's what he's doing. But he pivoted, right? So he built everything out for the female side. And then after running that for a few months, he's like, you know what? This is not my audience. And he pivoted, and he's only focused on male entrepreneurs now, and he's crushing it. So guys, allow yourself that. It's okay. Like, I had a conversation with another one of our clients. He's like, he's been having the toughest time trying to like figure out who he wants to serve. And I'm like, dude, I know who you want to serve. We talked about it in LA. Do that. and allow yourself to just work with those people. And down the road, if you don't like it, you can always change.
Mm-hmm. Well, the key with Dan too, because I've been working with him as well, is when he pivoted, he just went back to the fundamentals and followed the step by step. That's why he did it so quickly. He didn't say, oh, I did this with the females and that didn't really work, so I'm going to change some of this stuff. It didn't really work. He just didn't want to work with them. He was very successful with the females, right? But he just realized, like, my perfect client where he gets excited is the men. And the second thing is when we talk about the fundamentals too, like when we go to add our flair or when we go to like change things to be more dynamic and to, you know, try something new and different, we always have the fundamentals to fall back on. So if that doesn't work, it's not like, oh shit, like now I'm stuck where I'm at, right? Or now I just wasted all that and I have to start completely over. No, your fundamentals are still running in the background, right? So it's not like you have to like never be able to like go off and build your own trail or pave a new way. We want you to do that. We're healthpreneurs, right? This is why we're thought leaders. But we say do the fundamentals first, because when things happen, because things will happen, challenges, issues, things will break down, your fundamentals will hold you steady and solid, and you'll never be hungry, right? You'll always have that foundation to pull you through at any moment.
That's a great point, Jackie. And, you know, it never takes as long. I always, when I talk with clients and they're like, oh my gosh, but I'm not passionate about this and I have to switch. Once you go through the perfect client pipeline, developing it once, it will never take you that long again. And, you know, when I started, I was just targeting I wasn't targeting high achieving women, I was targeting women over 40. And I developed my entire pipeline and I was running my ads, and I realized like it wasn't just women over 40 who wanted to ditch the diet and get permanent weight loss results without feeling deprived or overwhelmed. I didn't want to work with busy people, but it took me launching and working with people and realizing that was who I'd been working with and I didn't like it. And all the tweak that I made was high performing women over 40. And once I did that, and that seems like a small tweak, but it further niched down and it allowed me to really target my perfect client. And it really allowed me to work with people in a way that felt good to me. Because when you're not working with the right client, it feels kind of icky, right? And there's like a push and pull, and then you get annoyed with their, you know, things because you don't feel like doing that, right? So then you feel that energy. So really sit with yourself when you're starting with your perfect client. And like Stephanie said, don't just choose weight loss because everybody needs to lose weight, or diabetes because there's a million people with diabetes. If that doesn't turn you on, you know what turns you on. You're going to feel what turns you on. My perfect client's changed again, and that's okay, right? So I'm developing a new perfect client pipeline because I'm being true to me, because I've got to, because I want to transform lives, and I have a system. So now, since it's brand new, it's going to take me a little longer. The last one was like literally tweaks. So, but it's still not going to take me as long, right? So just do the fundamentals.
Yeah, and Amy, that's the best part. Like, but do it in order. Like, follow the fundamentals. Don't rush through the very beginning. Most people are like, I've never done a webinar before. Let me just jump to the webinar, and I'm going to get through, you know, my avatar, my dream come true system, because I need to get to the webinar. I need to get to the webinar. No, get that part done first, because if not, you're going to launch and you're going to feel icky, right? If you really do your best, not perfection, right? There's a difference, right? So do your best with each step, but make sure you check yourself and it feels good. It should feel like a little, you know, uncomfortable because it's new and different. But when you're working with your dream come true system and you're working with your perfect client avatar, that should feel amazing. That should light you up. If it just feels okay, then you haven't finished that step. Don't move to the next, right? It should really, like you said, turn you on.
It's like, guys, you can't write if you don't understand the alphabet, right? Like, then it just becomes like gibberish. So I'm gonna make it even simpler for everyone listening or watching. So we have the framework on how to build out your perfect client pipeline, and all of that really is predicated on understanding three things: the fears, frustrations, and desires of your perfect client. That's it. So everything hinges upon identifying who that person is you want to serve. Because if you know who that person is, your webinar is a whole lot easier, your Facebook messages are a whole lot easier, the way you speak to them on the phone is all taken care of, because you understand and you're speaking their language. So when I'm looking at landing pages and I'm seeing bullets like, you'll learn how to optimize your health, like, don't say stuff like that. And that's partly our bad, because we could do a better job perhaps on helping you guys with those specific bullet points. And that's why we've hired a new copy coach whose only job is to look at your landing pages And it helps you with
It's
that
exciting.
stuff, to give you that know-how of like, okay, this bullet makes no sense. It's not compelling. I would not want to register for this based on what I see. And here's what we could do instead. Because if you go back into the emotion inventory, which I think is the single most important worksheet in the entire program, if you focus there and you're able to bring out not like, okay, these people have low energy, right? That's their frustration. That is a frustration. It's a surface level, but how do you make it even more compelling? How do you bring that low energy into that person's world? Like, do you have a tough time getting out of bed? Do you find yourself hitting the snooze button several times first thing in the morning? Do you find yourself nodding off or dozing off at work after lunch? Like, using word images that are very visceral, where someone's like, holy shit, that's exactly what I went through today or this morning or yesterday, is much more powerful than have low energy. So again, all of this stuff is, again, in the online portal, or at the walkthrough of how to do all this stuff, but it's just a process of understanding this. And I understand that for most people, copywriting is not their forte, and that's totally fine. And that's why we're happy that this is not a copy intense process. Like, you got your landing page, you got your webinar, and you've got your Facebook ads. Those are the only places where you're going to have written text in some way, shape, or form. And we help you to the best of our ability with our copy coaches, with our training, to help you understand what to put in that stuff. With our Facebook ad templates, just follow the template and put your words in brackets where needed. We've tried to make it as easy as possible for you guys, because words do matter. Words really do matter. And again, it goes back to the fundamentals. So,
same thing, yeah, Yuri, like you said, the templates are so important. Like, we're not just saying this is how you do a webinar. Here's some copy that should, this is where you put stuff. The slide deck tells you this is where your big idea goes. This is where this goes. Don't talk about yourself till here, right? There's a true framework that really is ingenious. Don't try to make up your own stuff, right? Because we know what converts.
Yeah. The other example is, so our current webinar that's running right now is me on camera with the slide deck. And we had one of our clients who asked me if he could watch that. And I said, yes. Big disclaimer. You do not have to do a webinar, and I strongly recommend you don't do a webinar with you on camera. I've been doing webinars for 10 plus years. I've created probably more than 50 different webinars that are slides alone. So I'm at a point now where I feel confident and comfortable where I could probably do some pretty good stuff on camera as well as the slide deck, interchanging back and forth and get a bit more creative. But again, I don't know if that works better. So again, we're testing that. We're looking at, okay, does this make sense to keep doing this? So sometimes, and this is why you have to be careful of what you model, and that's why I made that disclaimer. I'm like, listen, watch this as just for viewing pleasure only, but do not copy this, because we don't know if this works better yet. And even if it does, don't do it until you've mastered the slide deck only with the voiceover. Because honestly, we've done pretty well just with the keynote by itself. So you don't have to make it look professional and all this nonsense. You don't have to have a beautiful slide deck. You don't have to have a designer create this. There's so much wasted money and time on stuff like, oh, people are going to judge me based on how my slide deck looks. No, they don't. What they're going to judge you on is this person has no clue what I'm talking. Like, they don't understand what I'm going through. That's all they care about. Or this person knows exactly what I'm going through. You could have the worst slides in terms of the way they look. Our slides are white with black text. It's like Apple simple. That's pretty much all you need. So, all right.
And it goes back to
I'll finish off here.
One quick last thing. It goes back to, we talked about a couple weeks ago, like, you're not allowed to do your blog, your website, YouTube, Instagram, even Facebook Lives. You're not allowed until you complete your perfect client pipeline, right? All that stuff is just going to distract you. And like Yuri just said, he's testing things because he's got the foundation and has the success and knows what works. So now let's see if we can optimize and see if this is going to work. Oh, it doesn't work? That's cool, because this is still running over here. So just stay with the system, build your solid foundation. Don't build a leaning tower of Pisa. And when you are complete and you are like, you need something to do because now you're just waiting for your numbers to come in, then you can go to the consistent content generator. And that's at the end, right? So don't even worry about what that is. but just you're not allowed to do anything else until you get this done.
Yeah, totally. It's so true. Because I mean, guys, like I've talked about this before in the podcast where I wasn't on Instagram for the longest time for a reason. Because I knew that, okay, let's say I was on Instagram, where am I driving people to? Right? To an ebook, to a free opt-in? No, like you have to have that predictable sales process and it has to be converting. And when it is, again, 95% of our revenue comes through this very model, right? Facebook ad to perfect client pipeline. That's 95% of our revenue. Everything else we're doing, the podcast, Instagram, YouTube, it's a long-term play. For me, it's the legacy play. Like we're building that out so that in the next 5-10 years, we are a major force, like, and everyone knows who Healthpreneur is. It's not about, I'm going to put this post up on Instagram and hopefully people are going to enroll with me tomorrow. You're not going to build a business like that. And in fact, if you are, you should definitely talk to us because we can save you from a lot of frustration and lack of results. So with that said, we've got to jump off. But again, if you're listening to this on the podcast, hopefully this episode has found you well. And if you're interested in working with us or interested in exploring how we can help you, watch the 7-Figure Health Business Blueprint training. It's totally free. You'll get a better sense of what we're talking about with respect to the webinar, and you'll get some really big ahas out of that 75 minutes or so. So it's over at healthpreneurgroup.com/training. If you like what you see and it resonates with you, then you can book a call with us, and you'll be speaking with one of these lovely ladies who are amazing on the phone and better than I am. That's why I'm not on the phone anymore, because they're awesome, way better than me. And if you're in the group, if you're in the HBA group, then hopefully this message has resonated with you. And if you're one of those people who's like the high quick start and just want to get stuff done, listen, I'm the same way, okay? But I'm just telling you, just follow the process until you have it working, and then you can start tweaking stuff with your own flair. Cool? All right, guys, so that'll do it for us today. Thank you so much for joining us. We'll see you in the next Between the Years session next Wednesday. And until then, have an awesome week. Keep up the great work.